But getting into kind of your final thoughts with how that series played out, do you feel as though it's going to be one? Is it going to be one that's remembered more of, kind of maybe what the Heat did, or maybe how Boston just kind of like collapsed in terms of their Game 7 performance, because they were the favorite team and had the expectations with Milwaukee being out, but just couldn't find a way to kind of get over that hump with winning at home.
Uh, I think right now the narrative may be Boston, surrounded by Boston and what they did or didn't do. But I think, because I think there's still that, Miami hate from the LeBron years, and you know, take it or leave it how you
The
want it.
Heatles.
But it's one of those things where it's still kind of lingering, where this team is doing some things that have never been seen before. And the whole time people were focusing on the 3-0 coming back from, down 3-0. But at the end of the day, I think in the long run, this Heat team is going to be remembered, and, I don't think they're given as much credit. They literally sat there and, you know, were disrespecting the Heat in a way. And then they turned around and said, all right, now the finals, Denver, who's the most, you know,
It just transitioned right to the Nuggets.
yeah, who's the most disrespected team? I'm just like, let's be real. Like, considering all the things that the Heat have gone through this year, to
Yeah,
be in this position, they're well within their talent level. We just, from the naked eye, we judge talent a different way. And so I think at the end of the day, they are the second team to do what they've done, and the first team to do what they've done since the rules have changed, playoff wise. And so, maybe that's something they going, it's going to make the league, do a double take, to make sure, how do we make it so that this doesn't happen again, where a team that
yeah.
probably should have been
Prevent this.
a team that probably should have been, top four, did not, but that's just the Heat. Some of that might just be the Heat and,
Yeah,
and how they've been playing this year. But I think what they've done so far, is definitely enough for us to go back and remember it, because they are going with the narrative now, how Jimmy Butler called it. We'll be back here again, the same position, and we're going to get it done,
and it happened. Yeah,
and it
literally happened.
happened. There's something about believing in yourself and believing in your people. And yeah,
They did it. Yeah.
yep.
And now transitioning to Denver's sweep of the Lakers and kind of, if they should be the overall favorites now. The Nuggets won a tight game for last week, 113 to 111. Nikola Jokic had 30 points, 14 rebounds, and 13 assists. Jamal Murray also had 25 points, and Jokic earned his eighth triple-double of the playoffs by the third quarter, breaking Will Chamberlain's 1976 record. To you, like looking at this game and also kind of the outcome of the series, Jokic has been like kind of like one of the biggest headlines. Jamal Murray, he's been more consistent in terms of shooting wise. What did you think about this series and Denver just kind of finding a way to finish a sweep, even though the Lakers and LeBron had a really exceptional performance?
I mean, I watched the series with Phoenix, and Denver was just consistent. They
Yeah,
the way they showed up and the way they were, you know, it's like the others, like they call them, were doing their thing, but the two guys were doing what they need to do as well. Like you honestly can't expect Jokic to, score half the points. He
right.
could do it. You know what I'm
You
saying?
can only do
But
so much.
you
Yeah,
can't expect him to do that all the time. And I think the way I just look at how they played, like I told my friend, who she's like, oh, you want to see the bubble rematch, but I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like the way the Lakers
Denver's a
play,
well-oiled machine.
yeah. And I was just like, I called. I mean, I called it like I called it sweep because, well, one thing is LeBron looks hurt. Like something's wrong with LeBron. Like he's playing through stuff, and he's not that type of person to complain or anything like that. And so I just knew LeBron was off, and then when the others, like some of the guys or people were saying, oh, this guy is this and that, but I'm just like, at the end of the day, when it came time to be consistent, like a Caleb Martin or even Gabe Vincent, like those guys have been consistent throughout the playoffs this year. Like Lakers didn't have that, but the way Denver was firing all cylinders, like I think that Phoenix series kind of you know gave them a little
That
bit of
put everyone
test.
on notice. That put everyone on
Yeah,
notice. I feel like even in the Phoenix series, people were like, "Okay, is the talent going to be too much for Denver to handle?" But they're just a better team.
yeah, and you know I'm just looking at like the whole picture there too. It's just like they had KD and Booker, like they're just buckets just by themselves. You know what I'm saying? And the way they played that series was like I don't know, man. Like they just it's almost like they just took Phoenix's will, and then I saw what it took for the Lakers to beat Golden State, and it was like a world reversal. Like the Lakers became Golden State in the that Nugget series, and after the first game, it was just like I was like, oh, maybe the Lakers got something, but I like how Coach came back. I was like, everybody talking about the Lakers figure out something like we didn't like we were there
Like we
too,
didn't win the game.
but not just like they didn't win the
That
game,
was the
but
narrative. But the narrative after game one was that the Lakers they figured out something, and this was going to be like a 5-game series.
yeah,
Like people did not even give any credit to Denver holding on for that win. Obviously, like the win wasn't the only thing talked about, but it was more so the fact that LA is going to be good for game two, and then this is going to be a set series for the Lakers going forward.
yeah. I mean, I'm even looking at what was that game one. 80 had 40 points. Like 80 showed up, but it
Yeah,
didn't matter.
still,
That was the scary
still
part
didn't
to
matter.
me. Like 80 showed up. It's like, oh, when 80 showed up, the Lakers automatically win. He showed up. He wasn't a punk. He didn't let Jokic punk him. Just Jokic is really good at what he
Smart.
does.
Yeah.
Like he's like Dirk, but like on another level. You know what I'm saying? Like his size, basketball
Just the
IQ.
agility, everything. It's just
Yeah,
like
it's
the
like that.
passing. It's the
He's
shots he makes, the difficulty of the shots he makes. Like that step back against AD, I was like,
yeah,
Steph couldn't even do that against AD at one point. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like it was getting to that level.
No, it's definitely he was definitely like playing tough. Like that was some tough plays that he put up there, and you know kudos to the Lakers for making it that far. But I had a feeling like it was that was going to be the end result. Uh, especially in that last game, I was like, I saw how LeBron was playing. I was like, oh, LeBron always does this. Where he's
Yeah,
like he's not going to.
especially for like a elimination game.
Yeah, but it's like, and I think this is a thing that separates like it might just be LeBron's team, but I feel like he had enough. But it's like some players can figure out how to pull players along with them, and it's easier to do it when you're like, you win that one game, like what the Cleveland did against Golden State. You win that second game, you're like, okay, we got a little confidence. But it was just like, no, you got to win one game. And you've been getting beat up the games before. But LeBron
Yeah.
always like he doesn't go down just like he goes down fighting, and,
Oh, for
and
sure.
when they came
Always.
out in the second half and I saw how they were playing, it's like they literally were watching LeBron the first half, like put up like 30 points, and they would like expect him to put up 30 more in the second half. Like LeBron can't do that.
Can't
Like
happen anymore.
he was waiting for
This is
y'all to
this is a
arrive, and y'all didn't show up.
38-year LeBron. This is a 38-year-old LeBron. Like
It's,
father time is just caught up.
yeah, and it's just like, but when you have, I think Miami just with the injuries and stuff, it was different. They already had that culture of, hey, you got to do something. Like they said, Jimmy Butler always tells them to shoot the ball. Like like there is a like a level of confidence that you give your team, but it has to be a practice, a culture. You know, pun
Repetition.
intended, definitely. But it has to be a culture of that, because when you're not when you're game six, Jimmy Butler, you need your guys to get you to that free throw line. Just to that end of the game, which they did. It just ended up differently, but at the end of the day, they practice like they practice being that way. So when the next guy up, like you always hear those cliches, next guy up, blah blah blah. And so
Yeah.
but for and I digress from that. Could talk about Denver, but I definitely they're a really good team. Like they are the best team in the West, and they played like it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
kudos to them.
definitely. And before we move on to our finals preview, looking at the Lakers, it's very interesting because they're in a position now. Alex Caruso was one of the most impressive players for them consistently. Obviously, AD and LeBron are their two cornerstones. But looking at the free agent portal, obviously Kyrie's going to be available, and there's been a circulating notion of that kind of being a kind of a reunion that's going to eventually happen again. Like, how do you feel about what the Lakers should do this offseason? Do you think they should just kind of like build around AD and LeBron and make sure Caruso come? I completely I completely butchered his name. The
Alex Caruso.
Not Alex Caruso.
Oh, I know you're talking about the young cat. His name left my mind too. As soon as
Yeah, his name literally left my mind. I don't even.
I'm trying to look
Man,
at the box score to see.
Usually Savon has these moments. I'm
Oh
the one
my
having these
gosh,
moments. But like looking at the young core for
Reeves,
the
Austin
Lakers.
Reeves.
Yeah, Austin Reeves. My bad, Austin Reeves. If you're listening, I'm sorry. But looking at this young core and what they should do, like, do you feel as though they should go after maybe a big free agent, or just stick with what this unit has? Because it got them to the Western Conference Finals, but they still need some more additional pieces, I think, defensively and shooting wise to get over the hump.
Yeah, like Hachimura came out of nowhere,
Yeah, that's another one.
and so that was like, you got to kind of feel it out for for a season to see. I think they need to do like got a reverse flash, do the reverse Phoenix, and not reverse Phoenix, reverse Dallas, and not trade away your best defensive player.
Oh yeah,
It's like they need that type of guy. Like you don't need him to score a lot of points. You just need him to, if he on the court, everybody else plus or minus going down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
they
100%.
need one more guy like that can
Yeah,
help go. Like when like if you look at how the Heat play, when Jimmy is out, it's 5-on-5 defense wise. When Jimmy's in, it's Jimmy's guarding two people, maybe three at the same
yeah,
time. Like his basketball IQ is pretty high, and so like with LeBron's guarding everybody. Like he's and so you need that other guy to kind of give LeBron room. If LeBron's going to come back, if he's not if he's going to stick around, they're going to have to figure out. I feel like people think Reeves is going to get a payday. The Lakers can't match, but if that's the case, they might have to let him roll. But I think if I was him, if I'll bet on myself and stick around LeBron. Like it's not a bad spot to be in. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. At all.
Especially learning from LeBron and different things like that. He could be a Caruso that can score like a Tyler Hero. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a possibility he can learn from that. But they definitely need to find another veteran or so, or we haven't seen a lot of they got Lonnie Walker. Like Lonnie, he was doing really good
Yeah,
with the
another one. Like he
Spurs.
single-handedly almost like won that game 4 against Golden State in the
Yeah,
fourth quarter.
they have their bench has a lot of upside to it, and so it's just they haven't had that group long enough to really see what they have. You know what I'm saying? And so I
Gotta
think
give time to let it. Gotta give time to let it play out and just fully see the
yeah,
results of this.
and
Because it's
it's
almost like in 2021 when they rushed that process after they lost to Phoenix, they let go of they let go of Caruso, they let go of all of their
yeah,
key players, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, KCP. They let go of that unit that really got them to win that championship in the bubble. And
yeah,
then just over one loss in the playoff, they just overreacted and blew it up.
yeah. But at the same time, though, like they got younger, and the talent looks pretty good, and so
It does.
I think if you can keep AD healthy, you can keep LeBron minutes down. They might can do something again next year. Like if LeBron goes into the playoffs healthy, it's a different ball game. You know what I'm saying? Like he came in hurt. Like
He was battling injuries coming
yeah,
into the
I saw him
postseason.
block that Steph. that gave Steph nightmares. Flashback. He did that block.
2016.
Yeah, that block. That
I was like,
that
here we
trick.
go again.
But the way he came down and just but it wasn't like he's about. It's like some guys are just serious. They don't celebrate. They just. But he's just like, all right, let's keep it going. Like he's not gonna. He's just smart. It's like he's not gonna like show like he's hurt or anything like that. But
Yeah.
you can tell something was off. But I don't know, man. They got something going on. I think they're in a better position than Golden State, though. Because
Yeah, it's a lot of question marks,
yeah,
especially with we just got the news today that Bob Myers stepped down, and it's just a lot of different things going on
Yeah.
at the top. Like
that continuity that they had in Golden State has been like their bread and butter. You can see it again in Miami. That's so important when the team is clicking off the court, and they from the beginning of the season with Draymond and Poole, they just threw things off.
Because we even mentioned me and Savon even mentioned a couple episodes ago that Steph still looks like he can play at that peak level. Like like Steph is not the problem.
No,
to me it's more so we see Clay being extremely consistent, taking shots. He was taking shots on the road against LA that just were hero ball shots. It was just looking to be the savior of the game. Draymond has his moments, and obviously Jordan Poole is has been one of the biggest inconsistencies. Like, do you think there's a way that Poole and Draymond will both be back? Because I feel as though one of the two, I would think more so Poole would get moved, but at the same time, he got paid last summer, so it's just like, what can you really do?
Yeah, and when people know you're trying to move somebody, they're not going to pay face value.
Yeah,
and so for me, it's just like I think they can get over it. Poole's a young guy, and I think you got to put it in perspective. Like granted, I honestly don't know how I would handle that situation, but if you figuring out how to separate personal and business just to get it done, get the job done, get the chip, that more kudos to him. But it's tough. It's tough to do that. When especially with younger guys in the social media world, and it's just I don't know. Really I don't know what they're going to do there. They definitely going to need, like Steph. Steph is built to do what he did in that Game 7, but he's not. You can't expect Steph off rip to come on every game to do that. You know what I'm saying? You have to give him, all right, Steph. The only person
complementary pieces.
Yeah, the only person you have to get him in those spots where the only person that can do this is you. Mm. If you come into the game, they knowing that, it's just like that's going to be a hard burden to carry for him. So they're going to have to figure that out.
And now getting kind of into our initial thoughts on this Heat Nuggets series. I mean, it's very interesting because the Nuggets, they come into this looking like the best team, like we've mentioned. They really ran through Phoenix. I mean, more so the Lakers, but in that Game 6, dominated Phoenix on the road. Jokic and Murray are one of the best duos in the league. Mm-hmm. And the coaching, obviously, like the coaching battle is going to be very interesting as well, because Eric Spoelstra, I think many people think he's the best coach in the league. Mike Malone has done a very good job with this Nuggets team. Like, what do you think are going to be some of the key X factors in this series? Because Game 1, that's going to be a tall task for Miami to win, coming off of a long Game 7 series, but also
and that altitude.
Yeah, that too as well. but one of those two are going to be essential for them to win. And kind of how do you see this series playing
out? I think Miami is going to do better than people are giving them credit for, because I mean it's that eye test. People always talk about the eye test, and I'm looking at Denver is really good. Don't get me wrong. They're not going to make the mistakes Boston made. They're not going to have those letdowns. But if they do have those moments, Spoelstra is going to find it. Like people
find the holes. He's going to always spot holes.
People seem to forget. Like he's been with Pat Riley since Pat Riley came to the Heat. He almost got fired too, by the way. But but he's been cutting tape for Pat Riley. Mm-hmm. For that whole time. So he knows how Pat Riley thinks. Yeah. And then he throws on his twists, like his like analytics and his like his things that he has going on. And I think the Heat going to do pretty good. I'm looking at the postseason stats, and you know the Joker is going to be the Joker. I think you can expect him to average 30 at least.
Yeah, you have to accept. You have to accept he's going to get his.
Murray, he's no Jaylen Brown. They're like 5 points off each other. Average in the postseason, and then the next guy is 14. I think that was the same kind of breakdown with Boston, and so I think if they can figure out the 4 guys, and just don't allow the Joker to have historic nights. Obviously the Heat are smaller team. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like I'm not sure if you've seen like Rodman talk about how he gets rebounds, like watches how people shoot and like.
Oh yeah.
And it's like
where he was doing them.
Yeah, the Joker, but the Joker's like always in the right position. Like I don't know, like he's always it's not just because how many guys are like 7 feet tall and they can't get a rebound worth a darn. You know what I'm saying? And so it's gonna. I think it's gonna be a competitive series, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm not. Miami hasn't had a great history in Denver. And the whole air quality kind of thing, and figuring that out. I'm hoping they, have something in place to help the guys prepare for that. But maybe we get surprised and Tyler Hero shows up. Game 3 or 4, I don't know. But we will never know until the game starts with Eric Spoelstra. So
yeah, he's never going to cue you in. I got Nuggets in 6. Do you have a certain prediction, or do you kind of just feel like it's going to be a long series?
I mean, I'm going to believe in the Heat from everything I've seen so far. All the odds that have been against them, there were a 3% chance of finishing the last series. I don't know what the percentage they were supposed to beat the Bucks. I think people had us getting swept in that one, and you saw how that went. And I think I'm going to give them 7. I think if they can figure out home, I think they can at least get one on the road. So
if it gets to 7, I would be very nervous for Denver. It's just something about I feel like Jimmy might have one of those games on the road.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you notice the game 6, even though Jimmy, they were missing the shots, but it wasn't like bad shots, like jacking up threes like the Celtics during the second half of last game.
Yeah, the Celtics just shot threes just to.
Yeah, they were taking their shots in their area. Yeah, the way Jimmy was playing, it was just telling me like he wasn't backing down. He just couldn't make a shot. Like he was taking his shots. There, a lot of them were point blank shots. So it wasn't like, oh, he's shying away from everything else. He's just trying to adjust, and maybe it was too much in his head. But I don't think he was like shying away from the pressure. Because even at the end of the game, like I said, he just had that thing about him. And so I don't know, man. I think we have what I think we have. Like I'm looking at Porter, Gordon, and Brown. Caldwell Pope might be a black horse in that, but I think after the Murray and the Joker, the Heat can take the rest of them. You know what I'm saying? Like we have the guys that even like Strus surprised me on some of the defense he's playing on Tatum. I was like,
yeah, that was.
Man, if y'all get Strus to play better defense, it's gonna be over. And but the way they've been playing on the road, yeah, the way the Heat has played on the road, I'm like, I don't know, man.
They're road warriors. They really are road warriors if you think about it. I mean, like just the way they started that Milwaukee series. Yeah,
when the bench shows up like that, it's different. Like I think what's going to keep us consistent and keep our like foot on the pedal is Bam. I think his offensive production is going to be more important.
He was struggling a bit for that game 7. Mm-hmm. He was just not making shots
because as soon as he starts making those jumpers from the free throw line, Joker's going to have to start coming out. And once they start doing that, watch they start putting him in a pick and roll, and you're gonna have to make some decisions.
Yeah.
But if the bench shows up like they did too, it's gonna make it even harder. And so like someone said it like I'm not sure if it was Perkins or whoever. It's like people talk about the Heat the way they sideways all they want to, but that's not the team you want to start the playoffs against. You know what I'm saying? And Milwaukee figured that out real fast because
Yes.
they're like hard nosed. Like whether they're winning or losing, they're playing the same tough. Like they're not going to shy away from getting hit or anything like that. Like and that wears on you. So if you're not used to that, Denver hasn't seen a defense like this. Even think about how aggressive Miami is, and they play zone. They play zone a lot.
Yeah.
Like you still feel them, and they're in the zone. How? And so it's like it's a different kind of perspective. And so
That zone was giving the Celtics fits. I mean, just
because but the reason why, because I mean, you think, oh, this team can make a lot of threes, but they're in the zone. You think the threes are dropped, but they're rushing the threes because the Heat are running at them every single time they are running. But when they go man to man, they
really.
lose an assignment. It's going to be different for Denver for sure. But like I said, I like Spo in this one. I like his in-game adjustments. I like the way he thinks, and it's one of those like he said something to Jimmy when they were in that argument. It's like, what do you want to just hit me in the face? Like from reading his lips, like, or you want to like. It's just like one of those things. It's like, bro, that's stupid. Like what is that? Like the way he said it, to him is like, what is that going to gain? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And so I think he has that mindset. It's just like, hey, either y'all going to show up or you ain't.
Or lose.
But you're not going to be on the court. I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you that much. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm not
and
giving you
so
any playing time.
hopefully Kyle Lowry can. I think Kyle Lowry coming off the bench even gives him some stability on that second team, and he's a bully. So he's gonna make whoever's out there feel it too.
They don't really.
And,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
so yeah, man, it's gonna. I'm excited about the
I
finals.
think it's gonna be a good series. I think this is gonna be a
Oh
really,
yeah,
really. I know it's not gonna be high ratings, but I think it's for basketball fans. It's gonna be entertaining. It's gonna be
yeah.
really entertaining
I
basketball to
mean,
watch.
they want to say it's the Heat, but I think it's more Denver.
Yeah,
Because the way that the time zone they're in and when they play, people are not used to Denver playing, and so I think it's going to be a fun series. Like if you decide not to tune in, that's on you. But I think the Heat's offensive production has been high in the playoffs. Denver's been Denver, so there's going to be some points scored. That's all I'm
oh
saying.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
if they keep letting Duncan Robinson get layups, I don't know what's going to happen to them. I was like, what is going on? I thought I was in like Earth 2 or something.
That's what I was.
That dude kept getting layups.
What
Like
is
what?
happening? What
So
in the world is
Duncan
happening?
running past people. Okay, I've seen it all. But
But now getting to the Spurs winning the draft lottery, and also thoughts on Victor Wembanyama. Last week, the major news in the league was San Antonio winning the draft lottery and being expected to draft Wembanyama come June 22nd. And he's obviously a generational superstar and has a skill set combination that the league has never seen. And when you look at Popovich, he's one of the best coaches we've ever had. Kind of getting in the latter stages of his career, maybe like 2 or 3 more coaching years. But what are your thoughts on the Spurs winning this, and also how Wembanyama would fit in a Spurs system? Because obviously being under the tutelage of Popovich, that's one of the best ways to start your
yeah,
career.
I mean, Pop is like Belichick, man. Like like him and Spo were the 2 longest tenure coaches, and there's a reason. It's like there's some guys who just
Longevity.
stay past their prime, or like Pop is still Pop.
Yeah.
He always angry, get off my lawn type of anger, but he seems to still love the game of basketball. And I think like if I'm a player, that's the type of coach I want to go to.
I'm gonna fight for it. Yeah.
Because I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard anything where like Duncan or Robinson don't like him or don't have a relationship. I feel like just to be able to get exposed to those guys, that's going to be some wisdom the young guy could not buy, at all. Just a guy who's coached those big men, and then everybody else, Hoops, Tony Parker, like And so now he's gonna. I think he's gonna have a learning curve too because you have this versatile player. Uh, but hopefully the kid like puts the right people around himself to on one hand, but hopefully they put the right players around him to help him get better. Like I don't want like a
Because the surrounding players, I mean, Wembanyama looks like he can be a completely generational talent, but we
yeah
also know that's not it. Zion Williamson, there are certain stretches we've seen where that's just not it for him to be
yeah
the ultra talent. You got to have a surrounding team as well.
yeah. I mean Giannis came out of nowhere too for a lot of people, and and Giannis just I think he he accepted his responsibility
Yes.
right away. I think, and that's something, again, going back to the Celtics, that's something I want to see Tatum do in the future. They accept that responsibility. Like, it needs to be playoff Tatum next year, where you still get your production in the regular season, but people need to feel something different. And so for me, like,
He needs to have one of those years. He definitely
yeah,
needs to have one of those years.
but for the Spurs, like, you're going to have to, if he could come in, if he come in with that mindset of like, I have to like as soon as Spurs got him, they say, "Oh, they're getting this player." And granted, I don't know that much about him, but from I've seen highlights from his that keep popping up on social media, and for some reason, I thought he was a younger guy than that. But at the same time, if he comes in knowing like as soon as you the first round draft pick, there's a all right, get over yourself. What you ready to do? What kind of work you ready to put in? You know, how much it costs for LeBron to keep his body up. You got to have that mindset already off rip. Like
Yeah.
this is what I'm going to put in. These are trainers I'm going to have around me. I'm going to work. Like the blueprint is there if he wants to take it. And so I feel like a coach like Pop is going to show him show him the way.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing. Having
He's
the
in good
right
hands.
system
Mhm.
is it. Anybody who comes to Pop is in the right system,
Yeah.
unless you have a bad attitude.
As soon as you walk in.
But he'll move you because he's the president. I think he's still the president too, right?
Yeah, he is.
Play
Yep.
opera. Yeah. So yeah. So you don't if it don't work out, he'll figure out how to get you out of there. But they do have a
Definitely.
lot to. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I would love to see more teams get into contention. Especially what stuff going on with Memphis. You're gonna need something shiny to dangle in front of people to distract them.
The
And
league
so
is the league is headed into that next phase of like, okay, Steph and LeBron, they're getting up in years, KD as well.
hmm
Who's going to be that next face of the league? The league is definitely thinking about that.
hmm
And Wembanyama being with San Antonio, a team that's well known, if he can get cultivated the right way and be teachable, as we mentioned, there's no reason he can't be one of those players.
yeah. Like if you have a mindset of no matter how much you know or how much you've done, that you can still learn something, the sky's the limit. Like Giannis is joking, but I think it's actually kind of profound. It's like I can do all these things. God is but I can't shoot a three. God is trying to humble him, like keep him humble. Like all the things that he can
Great
do.
point.
Say, but I can't shoot a three. I can't shoot the three ball. He said, you got and so it's just like you gotta humble yourself and be willing to put in that work. Even though the movie were the air, and it's just like the way you know they spoke about Jordan. It's just like there's something about someone who wills themselves to
Get to that point.
to a place like you can't stop them. They can only have bad games. You can't stop a Jimmy Butler. He only can have bad games because we've seen people try to stop him and
It's
the
not
decisions that
successful.
he's make. And so for him it's just like, you want to be that person where you have that mindset.
Yeah, and now getting to our next topic, Scottie Pippen's recent comments on MJ, and also kind of thoughts on will there ever be a reconciliation? Recently on former Bulls teammate Stacey King's podcast on Friday, Pippen described Jordan as quote a horrible player end quote, and it was very interesting because he mentioned all the things about Jordan just being a one on one guy, And then when he finally got a team, that's when he became, that's when he got better. That's what he needed. But all in all, he wasn't a great player. And ever since I think maybe 2011, I think that first year LeBron was in Miami, and it was on a radio show right after they beat the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals. Pippen said, I think this is the greatest player I've ever seen. And LeBron hadn't even won a title yet. And there's also been that resentment of the Last Dance documentary and all of these surrounding parts. But what did you think about, or just kind of like the resounding situation between Pippen and Jordan years later, and just kind of, what his comments really meant?
Yeah, I think I'll put it like this: when you're hurt, you say a lot of things that when you have a relationship with someone that will come out just between y'all, and maybe Pippen doesn't have an avenue to get that out, and so he's putting it out there like that, and so I think it's more like some hurt between their relationship than anything else. Yeah, Jordan was a jerk. You know, that was the thing. That
I was
was
known.
but it's Kobe was a jerk too. And but they when you think about you know Kobe's like, I put in work. These guys up here just showing up like whatever, and so I'm not gonna pass him the ball. And I think Jordan put in the work to get where he was. Uh, Granted he couldn't do it all by himself, but every time the moment called, he showed up, and so you can't take that away from him. He's one of the greatest players ever to play the game. Uh, you know, Even before LeBron, he was the most like immortal player the NBA has seen.
Yeah.
In the way that it wasn't just Air Jordan. It was just like you know, there's it's that thing. There's once in a generation talent. Like
Yeah.
literally, people say it so much these days, but I'm like nobody capping for anybody like that. You know, like we're just saying it to if we're right. We get played on TV and on the radio. Sound bites, but you know, people saw something in Jordan, and like you can't take it away from him. And it's hard when you're a guy like Scottie, and you did a lot to help Jordan get there, and then seem like they've fallen off. But it's tough. It's one of those things that it's sad to see. And I'm hoping they can have a reconciliation moment, and hopefully it's not somebody's death. Because everybody
Yeah.
thought Jordan hated Kobe, and then you saw him at the funeral, and it was just like, oh, okay. But I think Jordan though has that personality where he's not going to correct you if you think he's a jerk.
Oh yeah.
He might
Yeah.
he might
It's
like he doesn't like it wasn't like people who was like, oh, I'm not that guy. It's like if you think if you think I'm it's like people have that where they're not always correcting people, good or bad. They're not correcting people about what they say about him. So they just roll with it. But Jordan's always been like that.
definitely. We're gonna take a quick break and be right back with our A review.